Coach Newberry flip-flopped you and Perkins. You're now playing end as opposed to tackle, correct?
Yes, sir. Correct.
Can you tell me how that's different and how that might fit your game? I mean, kind of walk us through maybe what they told you was the reasoning behind that decision.
Yes, sir. So Coach Newberry and I met after the season, maybe a month. And he called me in his office and he told me that they were planning on moving me to end. But I played end in our spring going into the 2019 season. But we were some people got hurt at tackle, but they were already back. But just for like assurance, they moved me to tackle. And after I thought I had a pretty good spring at end, so I was kind of disappointed there. But I mean, what was needed was what we was gonna do. And after the season, he met with me, said we're moving back because of my athletic ability. And after the Army game, he thought he was foreseeing things, and he thought that it would better suit my game because I'm more of a quick, strong person. So on the end, we have plays that I can drop into coverage and be disruptive more than tackle. Because I played tackle last year around maybe 250 pounds, which was, I mean, it was fine, but it took a lot. It took a toll.
Well, can you maybe explain to us the difference between the two positions? I'm guessing the tackle is a different technique, and it's inside further. I mean, maybe you're lining up against a guard more often at tackle, whereas at end you're lining up against a tackle. I don't know. You explain it to us.
So there's a big difference between tackle and end, because in tackle, I say we're all in the trenches, but defensive tackle, you're deep in the trenches because you're going against like those guards.
Well, now that you're dropping back, what kind of hands you got?
Well, I guess we'll have to find out, but I think they're pretty good.
Do you enjoy that aspect? I mean, how did that feel when you initially were getting back to doing that?
Oh, yes, sir. Like I think end is where I'm supposed to be as a football player. Like I thoroughly enjoy learning the position and the coverages and all the things that come with playing end.
Have you had a chance to get a little, I guess we call it contact, but practice-wise?
Yeah.
Jacking some of those offensive tackles up a little bit?
Yes, sir. So it was a little scary because I thought we weren't going to do contact a little bit, but we've been doing some hands-on, a one-on-one, and then as we've been doing team period, we've been going live a little bit, but just not to the ground. That's been great for me because I firmly believe that you have to go out and you can't just go out and expect to play and not done anything physical, because you won't be physical at that point. But they've done a good job. Coach Nehemiah and his staff have done a great job of implementing the physicality part in practice.
Is it really important for you to emphasize the way you use your hands?
Yes, sir.
The atmosphere. I mean, as long as you're not going to do a lot of contact, the less you let them contact, the better.
Yes, sir. Last year, I think that's one of the areas that I struggle with, the use of my hands. But this year, I've made like a focus of every play. I try to do at least something with my hands and be more. I was physical, but be more physical and bring that edge.
Do you, when you start up again, and now that you haven't had a spring, do the coaches give you like a little reel of yourself, either doing exactly what they want you to do or maybe not exactly what they want you to do?
Yes, sir. We have. Are you saying like tape of our old self?
Yeah, cut up of you from last year.
Oh, yes, sir. Because there was plenty of things we did right last year and plenty of things we did wrong. But he shows us both aspects of it, and he's encouraged us to watch like our favorite players and learn their moves, as well as we're implementing pass rush moves and ways to get around the court, ways to get around the tackle in practice.
Were you always a football fan growing up?
So yes, sir. I was the U because my cousin had played there, but I'd never started playing football until my 8th grade year.
Well, who was your favorite player besides your cousin?
Oh, Ray Lewis,
Oh, really?
100% Ray Lewis.
What was it about him that appealed to you so much?
The way he took the game over in late situations, early situations, the way he brought his edge to the field as soon as he stepped in M&T Bank Stadium, like, it was just different. Something was just different about him.
All right, that's cool. Thanks.
Thanks. Bill, do you have anything?
Yeah, I
Go
got
ahead,
two.
Bill.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Bill. You go, then Wax. I'm sorry. That was
Okay.
my fault.
It's all good. Jerry, just first off, a lot of fans think of Navy for the offense, but what can fans expect from the defense this year?
Fans can expect a group of 11 men playing their butts off as usual. That's what we pride ourselves in, the E culture, effort, attitude, and toughness. We were going to be the most disciplined team. We're going to be the most tough team, and whoever comes out at the end is just crowned champion.
High school ball starting up across the country. You got week 0, Austin P, Central Arkansas this weekend. Is that itch to get back out and playing in a game starting to hit you?
Oh, it does. I think every day I get more and more excited. We talk about it. My roommates and I talk about it too much. I mean, we should be focusing on homework, but we're over here talking about football every day. Can't wait to get back on it.
Thank you.
Okay, Wax, go ahead. I'm sorry.
So I know it's not apples and apples because you've changed positions, but were some of the things the coaching staff wanted you to improve upon over last season? What were some of the things you maybe weaknesses that need to be shored up?
Yeah, sir. I've had a couple weaknesses last year. So last year would be my first year playing. Like, I didn't process things as well. I thought too, and Coach Newberry was telling me about. I didn't process the plays well. I had missed assignments, even if I made the play, just missed assignments, not spilling the block here, not taking the dive when I had to dive. So I had to improve on that, the mental aspect of the game, and I think I've gotten way better at seeing the formations, seeing what blocks I would get before the play even start. And I think that just helped me play. I already played fast, but I think that helped me play even faster.
So I'm going to guess that last year your coach was Coach Hall.
Yes, sir, Coach Hall.
And now you're working with Coach Downing.
Yes, sir.
What, trying to talk about that change? I mean, that's an interesting, you're being coached by a different guy.
Yes, sir. So that is very interesting because there's 2 different meeting rooms. With Coach Hall is more, they're 2 different people. Coach Hall is more of a quieter person, but when he rips into you, you're gonna know it. Like, you're gonna feel it. And Coach Hall harps on the fundamentals all the time. He believes that you could be undersized, and if you have played with great fundamentals, then nobody can stop you. And I really appreciate Coach Hall because I've learned so much from him as the aspect of playing D tackle at 250 pounds last year, and I didn't think that I could handle those people, but he instilled that confidence part of me. And as in Coach Downing he was my coach from the get-go, so he saw something in me from the very beginning that I didn't see in myself, and he kind of pushed me to be a better version of myself every day. Even now, I sometimes I feel like I'm running hard to the ball, he wants me to run harder. So that's where I get that side of it from.
So one of the changes under Coach Newberry is that Coach Downing coaches the Raiders and the ends. I guess that's because there's some sort of symmetry between them. Why are you all in the room with the Raiders? And do you all have to work together in some respects?
That's a good question because I don't think the Raider and the end is very similar at all. They're very different. Like sometimes on some plays, when we have a certain technique, they'll have the opposite. But on maybe 80% of the plays, they're just totally on, like, they're doing whatever they're doing and we're doing whatever we're doing. So I don't really know why we're in the same room, but it's very interesting to see, because as an end, like in knowing, it helps you when you know what the person on the other side of you is going to be doing as well. So you, like, if he's rushing in, you don't rush in, you have to rush out. So it's helpful for us to see the bigger picture, I guess.
Well, I'll ask him when he comes on, but I'm guessing that maybe it's because they're both pass rush positions at edge rushers at some point. Is that
At some point, but sometimes the end is not necessarily a rush. We do more of a stone technique, and which is very hard to get a rush off. So like that's a lot of our plays is a stone.
like
The Raider?
mean containment?
Yes, sir. So the Raider is where you gonna make your money a lot in rushing.
All right, gotcha. Well, last but not least for me, you had a nice security blanket inside last year, all of you, with Pittman, and he's gone, and I don't know what's going on inside, whether Flowers has stepped up or I don't even want to begin to pronounce Allo. Help me out, Strauss.
CO, just say CO.
But what are you seeing a major drop off at the nose guard position, or are you give these guys getting a job done?
So I'll just put, like, Jackson Pittman he was a man child. But I think Flowers has stepped up tremendously from last year, and he's learned a lot. You can see that he's learned a lot from Mike and Coach Hall, because his play from last year and to where we're at right now, like when we step on practice field today, is not even close to where it was when he first started.
What was the whole experience of an Army-Navy game for you like last year?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you what, Randy. You hear about it, right? Before I came here, I worked at Kennesaw State for Brian Bohannon, who actually coached here.
Yeah.
And you hear about the Army-Navy game. I had a buddy who I know used to work at Army, and you hear people talk about it, and all I can tell you is that don't do it justice till you there. I mean, you get there and you're around it, you there, and you get to the stadium and the fans are there and the brigade is there, and it's such a special game. It's definitely the highlight of my coaching career. It's such a game that I take pride in. Of course, our program does, but just to be there and be involved in that game, I'm so thankful, for Coach Neil Montalolo and Coach Newberry allowing me just to be a part of. This is a special game. It's hard to put into words. The chills you get. My wife told me how nervous I was all that week, just not talking as much. And my dad's a high school football coach, and he's been to a lot of football games. I mean, he's been to a lot of them. And he had a chance to come to that Army-Navy game, and after the game, he told me it was the best football experience that he's ever been a part of as well. So it's just awesome. Hard to put into words. It's something that I'll never take for granted as long as I'm here and able to be a part of that game.
Yeah. Hey, do you consider it for yourself, since you've had to get back in like everybody does, the recruiting swing, with your background in the HBCU world, is it an advantage for you when it comes to, do you consider it an advantage in a recruiting sense in that you haven't always had, all the great things to go with? I mean, you've had to make do an awful lot, and in some cases kind of make up stuff.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Ray, that's a great question. And I'll answer it in the recruiting part first, because that's what you talked about. Just, not having as many hands on deck, as many resources coming from, not only did I coach at the HBCU, I played there, and, just having to go the extra mile to do some things that here you have other people that can do it for you, such as your graphics and sending out those things. But, at a historically black college, not all those schools have those resources to have those people to do that, so that's awesome as well. But also just the coaching aspect, being coaching there has really prepared me and allowed me to come here, I think, in these places and coach. at a little higher level with schools that have a little more resources and, a little more things that can help you. It's been a real advantage for me. And it also just, I think players are players wherever you coach at. That's one thing I think. But it also just, helped me, just not having as many coaches on your staff there. When I was at coaching at Winston-Salem State, I coached the whole D-line there. I had 4 guys, and I coached the secondary one year, and I had 5 guys on the field at one time. We ran a 3-5-3. So that allowed me just, the organization of my room, how to deal with the numbers that you deal with, and those things have really helped me. But from the recruiting aspect, just, the grind of having to do a lot of things, without some of the resources that you have here and without a lot of the people that you have here. Omar Nelson and Dave Mahoney does such an awesome job here for us in the recruiting aspect. And, Kevin Slattery, with our graphics, those guys do such an awesome job. And when I was at Winston-Salem State, we didn't have that. So, of course, you're exactly right. Just help prepare me here.
Yeah, it's funny. I was looking back at your background with your time at Winston-Salem. My son was there at the exact same time at Wake Forest.
Okay.
And he just loved Winston-Salem.
It was an awesome experience for me. I worked for Kermit Blunt, who gave me my first job. And he's a mentor of mine. I still talk to him now. It was an awesome experience for me. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, what's the best way to describe a Raider?
Yeah, he's a hybrid guy for us, Randy. He's a boundary outside linebacker when we need him to be that. When we need him to be a defensive lineman, he's a defensive lineman. It's a position that Coach Newberry does a really good job every year of always expanding, what we do. And it's a position that has expanded. I've been with Coach New here coming on 7 seasons, and that position has expanded every year. But the one thing I think, Randy, it allows us to do is when you deal with the offenses that are so, so much the tight ends now are so athletic. They can line up in space. They can play on the line of scrimmage. They can be kind of that sniffer position in the backfield. It just allows us to match up, and do some things in coverage that we need and some things on the line of scrimmage that we need. That hybrid person there, we need him to be a really good pass rusher and those things. So it's a position that has really grown. But he's a kind of a hybrid, Randy. The best way to describe it is a boundary outside linebacker and a boundary defensive end.
Okay. About a week and a half out, what kind of an offense are you looking at from BYU?
Very good one. Very good one. When you watch them on tape, Randy, the first thing that jumps off is just, and of course I'm looking at the O-line a lot, is just how big they are, right? They're very big. And then the second thing that jumps off is how well coached they are. They are a really well coached football team. The offensive line coach does a really good job. You watch them, they don't give up a lot of sacks. They play together. It's a very experienced unit. Quarterback's a really good player, athletic player. So we have our hands full. It's a really good offense, really well coached. Everything you hear coming out of that campus, how well they've clicked on offense here in the preseason. So very well coached. That's the first thing. Is just, very, very dynamic. They can run it. They can throw it. So we'll have our hands full.
My last one, having survived and adapted at defensive tackle at about 250 pounds, what are some of the positives that Jairus can take at playing defensive end now? What he has his natural physical gifts should seem more suited to where you have him now.
Yeah, I tell you what, in the off season, we just looked and, one thing, the Coach Niumatalolo and Coach Newberry always do is just always pressing is how can we be better? What can we do, to be better, to just kind of pressing it. And, and Jackson Perkins was a really good player for us last year, and he still is. He's the leader up front for us. He's the bell cow. He comes out every day and goes to work. We just thought just both of their skill sets, Perkins got a little bigger. Jay kind of cut a little bit more, and we just felt like, athletically, it was just a good fit for both of those guys, not just one. We felt like athletically it was a really good fit for both of them. I think Jairus has had a really good preseason. He's a guy that has a lot of short area quickness, can run. He's physical, has some natural pass rush ability. He's been really good this preseason. So super excited to see what he does, but just, want to make sure I definitely say that, Perkins has had a really good preseason as well. And he played really good football for us last year. He was super dependable, tough as nails, and a guy that showed up every day to go to work. And we expect both of those guys to be the same this year.
All right, great, Coach. Thank you.
Bill Bergman.
Coach, you see a lot of times guys bulk up and go from an end to a tackle position, not as much the reverse. How tough of a transition is this going to be that Jarius is making?
It's a great question, Phil, but it's not going to be as tough a transition because if you go back and watch us last year, Perk missed a couple games and Jarius started the Tulsa game and the Tulane game at defensive end. You know what I mean? So he played there a lot last year. When he came to camp last year, Jarius was a defensive end, but last year we had Jackson Perkins and Denzel Pope at the end and Jarius. So Jarius was a guy that kind of played really well last camp as well, and it was about, how we can get him on the field. So last year, 3 technique was the best way to get him on the field. So it won't be as much of a transition. It's a lot of transferable skills in our defense what those two guys do, Phil. So we feel good about both guys, not just Jarius. We feel really good about Jackson in there as well.
You touched on Jackson and Jarius. What about the other ends? What can we expect from them this year?
You talking about the guys that's backing Jarius up or the Raiders?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have some guys now that's playing really well. DeAndre Williams is having a really good camp. He's a guy that played some football for us last year. He's a tough guy, physical, can run, really strong hands. Antonio Greer is a guy that you'll get a chance to see some this year as well. So guys are working their butts off right now, Phil. Getting better every day. We talk about getting 1% better every day we touch the grass. That's kind of the mantra up front we're talking, and they're doing that. They're getting 1% better every day, stacking days, and I'm working their butts off.
Thank you.
Wags.
Well, on that note, I was looking at the depth chart, which obviously is out of date, but Williams was listed at the tackle position. He's over with you now?
No, he's playing both. He's a guy that can play both for us, Wag. Yes, sir.
Greer, though, is more DN.
Yes, sir. He's more of a defensive end. Yes, sir.
Okay. I was asking Jay about, it's interesting that you coach both the Raiders and the ends. That wasn't that way in Navy's previous coaching alignment. Why is that? What is it about those two positions that Coach Newberry wants the same man coaching those two spots?
Really good thing. Good question, Wade. A really good thing here. It's been a position that I've been very familiar with those two guys. And you're right, the skill set for them are very different on what we ask them to do. But like I said, I've been with Coach Newberry now going on 7 seasons. So some familiarity there, and what we ask those guys to do. And for us, I thought it was, it was really important for us when we hired Coach Hall. Coach Hall is a really good friend of mine. One of my best friends in this profession. We've worked together before. So it's sometimes where I'll be like, hey, defense ends, Coach Hall, you take them and let me work with the Raiders on some more of the coverage things. So that was really important. It was really big for us to get Coach Hall here, who not only is a really good football coach, but just have a very, really, really good working relationship with Coach Hall is super important for us. We speak the same language. We talk to the guys the same. So that way guys hear the same thing from myself and him, and it's been really good. But just some familiarity with the defense with Coach Newberry that I've been working with now, and just to have both of those guys has been good.
With regard to the Raider, obviously Cromartie got all the bulk of the reps last season. What's going on there? The depth chart listed John Kelly III and Tommy Lawley as 1-2. I don't know if it's still that way. Can you kind of break it down what's going on at Raider?
Yeah, I tell you what, all those guys are working really, really hard, and that's the one thing that I'm super excited about. Guys have had a really good preseason, running around, playing extremely hard. Tommy Lawley is a guy that hasn't played here before, but just been real, real sharp thus far. He's a super football savvy guy. John Kelly is a guy that, of course, he hasn't played as well, but was in the system last year, working really hard, runs around, has a really good motor. I tell you, Max Sandlin is a young guy that's super talented, that has a lot of ability. And then also Ian Blake is an older guy that's been in the program, that's been a real good, steady leader in the room, that's working really hard and doing well. So it'll be a combination of those four guys, Wag, that you'll see, and I think you'll see them all play.
Would it be fair to call that a position of concern based on the fact that not one of the four you just mentioned has played many meaningful downs, if any, on defense?
Yeah, I tell you what, Wade, especially the type of position it is, our defense is super important, what we ask that guy to do. So there is concern, but I tell you what, I'm super confident in those guys. Just seeing them run around, seeing, how they progressed in the defense. Then, even though they haven't played, all of those guys were in my meetings last year, had a chance to listen. So the thing that's been really impressive with me on our defense this year is now second year in the system, guys know more than just what to do. They know why Coach Newberry is calling it. So it helps them. So it's a little concern, but, just watching them practice and, having them in my meeting is, I'm super confident on who we'll put out there to go play, that they'll be, know what to do and to play with elite effort. And, and that's what we're asking them to do.
Do you feel that you need more production in terms of tackles for loss, sacks out of the Raider position? I know Cromartie had a solid season, but I don't know that he was high on and I think I talked to Coach Newberry about that. Is it true that the Raider needs to be wreaking havoc a little bit in the backfield?
You would love for him to be super productive. You would. I do agree with you. I think Cromartie had a really, really good year. You always want your guys to be productive, and you would like for them to be a little more productive. But the one thing about our defense that we really love, and I love about working at this place, is just everybody's selfless. We just want to have a do your job mentality, right? Just do your job. We ask you to spill a block, spill it. The next guy make the play, right? So as long as we got a do your job mentality, when I go back and watch the film, I'm happy about it when they do your job. But of course, you would love to have guys, be productive and make plays. But I was super, super ecstatic about the way Cromartie played last year, how hard he played. How he led our defense, just showed up every day with his hard hat.
All right, that's good for me. Thank you.
Randy, Phil, any follow-ups?
I am good, thank you.
Wags, one last chance.
Well, I guess just lastly on Warren, you expecting a big year out of him? I thought he stepped up and played pretty well last season in his first real serious action, and now he's being moved into a new position because clearly there's some confidence there. You feel good about what Jay's going to give you?
Yes, sir. Feel really good about it. He's been really good thus far this preseason. Feel good about him. Like you said, Wags, the thing we talk to our guys about is just do your job with elite effort, right? If you do that, then we will be fine on defense, right? It's gonna be times where you make plays, right? When the plays present itself, go make them, right? But it'll also be times, right, when you got to spill a block, right, and the linebacker behind you gonna make the play. And that's what we look at up front, Wags, Coach Hall and myself. We look at guys that just do their job, be in your gap when we ask you to do it, right? Get off blocks, right? And just do it with elite effort and elite toughness, right? But I do expect Jay to have a big year, right? But to me, what a big year is him doing his job with elite effort. And the plays present itself, yeah, go make them, no doubt. Want him to go make a play, right? Want him to go make those plays. But, that's what we consider a big year, guys when they're doing their job with elite effort. And that's the things that we're preaching.